All right, guys, welcome to this episode of DBO. We're trying something new here. We're trying a little bit different structure on how we make the videos. But this episode is on my 440 Mopar swapped E34. A lot of you guys have seen this, but we're doing a video because we haven't been keeping up on the footage and what's happened to it. So this video is past to present and how the 440 Mopar E34 began. So we're gonna start in the way past. So I went to college for this, for doing performance cars and performance builds and things. And in college, I took an E36 M3 and I put a big block Mopar in that. It was a failed project. I never got it to run. There was a lot of issues with fitment, obviously, big motor, small car. After the college attempt at building the big block E36 M3, I actually successfully built a small block Chevy powered BMW. Unfortunately, that was before I met these guys. I don't have a whole ton of footage of it. It was a Gambler 500 car, so it was super haggard, but it was right up the Denver Beer and Oil alley. It was great. It was such a fun car. So I continued that dream when I first got here. I bought a big block Mopar out of an RV before I even had a car. It was just a great deal. I bought the motor and transmission together and brought it here, and it just sat around the shop for a while. After that, we decided that we were going to do the roadkill zip tie drags down in Tucson, Arizona, which that video is great. You should check that video out if you haven't. It was a good time, and you get to see the beginning of this car. Well, anyway, in preparation for that event, I was going to build a big block Mopar E36 M3. So we begun that project. We tried to get the 440 into the E36 M3, but hit the same wall as before. Fitment is difficult in that swap. And I've gained a lot of ability in my fabrication side of my talents, and we were hoping that that would fix it. And between Will and I and Chris and Hamish trying to get all of the problems solved, it never really came to fruition. But in the process of planning for the roadkill zip tie drags, Will had a black E34, Chris had a black E34, and we had a black E34 sitting in the lot. So that's how this began. I had a 440, Chris had a black E34, and we combined the two to make this. So the original iteration of this car was a stock 440 with stock heads, stock transmission, stock everything, with an aluminum intake manifold and an Edelbrock carb. That setup was pretty sweet. We built it for like $2,500, including me buying the car from Chris, and got it to be race ready. Will and I built custom mounts, a custom transmission mount, custom exhaust, pretty much custom everything. We had to merge all of this old technology with this 95 BMW, and we were able to get it to work good. One of the key components of the build was the front sump oil pan, and that's why a lot of the other cars, it was difficult. Fortunately, when we decided to build the E34, we were able to find one of these hard to find front sump oil pans for this motor. So other than that, it was bone stock as it came out of the RV and into the car. So that iteration ran a 14.9 at roughly sea level. It was 14.9 at 96 miles an hour. It was pretty peppy. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun building it, and it was open headers, and you know, we just stuffed it in there and got it to run. It was great. The iteration you see behind me is what became after roadkill. So after roadkill, we decided that it would be best to make this into a street car. Like, let's go in the next step. Let's make it cool. Let's make it reliable. Let's make it a car. So I went through, and step one was we got the interior all put back together. Everything functions. All the windows work. The seats are nice. It has a radio. Heat works. The shifter and all of its console assembly turned out really nice. It looks like a good car. It's a car you can drive every day. And then further modifications we did to the engine where we added fuel injection. That was the big one. The Edelbrock carburetor is great, and as we learned, is faster than the Sniper EFI down a quarter-mile drag strip. But the Sniper EFI is super great for a daily driver. It starts right up, it runs fantastic, it goes down the highway good. You can ask anybody at the shop, it is a really comfy car to just cruise in. It doesn't make all of the speed, but it makes a lot of torque, and it will burn the tires off, and it gets right out of the way, and it's just a really fun car to drive. So one of the things we had to change to get it to a street car, so the fuel injection, the cooling system, we built an exhaust that goes all the way from the front to the back of the car and under the car, which was a big challenge. That was actually one of the bigger challenges of the build. And then the cooling system, as you can see with a lot of this air ducting here and the scoop down here, it's hard to get a radiator in this small of a car to cool that large of a motor. So we had to get really creative with how we moved air around through the engine bay, which we still have some work to do on that, but this setup made it functional so it keeps a good like 180 degree temperature going down the highway. which is just great for a street car. So it has a 4-core aluminum radiator in it, custom sized. I had to order it custom dimensions for what we had to fit. It has a Chevy alternator on it now to simplify the wiring. A lot of the old Mopar stuff requires a lot of external accessories like voltage regulators and control modules to help it run, whereas the GM setup is just a single wire. It's easy to warm or set up, and it mounted right to the bracket. I didn't have to change anything, just a little bit of spacing, and it fit right in there. We're still rocking the Torque Flight 727 automatic. It's a 3-speed auto with no overdrive, and I have a 315 welded rear end. So that combination is cool, but a problem we ran into is it does run at 3,200 RPM at 75. So those were the 3 big components to make it streetable, and then we just went through and fixed all of the roadkill-esque things from the race. The spark plug wires were a big issue. So I ran the original Chinese set that came with my Chinese distributor for a while. The problem is under street car temps, instead of just not doing a quarter-mile run and shutting it off, it started burning spark plug boots immediately. I get 60 miles out of a set of spark plug wires before it melted the boots. Ultimately, what I had to do is I got these porcelain, like they're a hard porcelain, they're not flexible, 90-degree boots with the fiberglass boot covers, and that combination was able to let it stay alive, and it's got about 1,500 miles on it with that setup, no problem. And so once we got it there, began the journey of street driving it. Lots of days of guys at the shop following me home to make sure it wouldn't break down, and lots of oil spills and leaks that had to be shotgun fixed, things like that. All was well and things were good, and it had an exhaust manifold leak, and I had just been running it and it was cool. So Will and I pulled it in one day, and we were just going to change the exhaust manifold gaskets and figure it out, get everything sealed up so it sounded good. Well, that turned into a week-long endeavor. We pulled the exhaust manifold gaskets, and I decided I wanted to compression test it while everything was apart because it's easy to get in there. We found a cylinder that had no compression completely, but the car never had really misfired, never had any issues, didn't shake. It didn't seem like it was down on power. It was an interesting find. That turned into pulling the heads. Turns out we had burned an exhaust valve, and it's due to the way the exhaust is built, which it will be fixed in the next iteration of this car. Will and I sat down and we're like, now's the opportunity to start really putting the power to it. So we bought a better set of cylinder heads that had dual rate valve springs, a big cam, and then all new head gaskets, everything, made it all really nice. We put it all back together. And she's hardy. It's got a good low pit idle. Everything works good. The only downside is at elevation, it now runs like a 16.6 was the best we could get out of it. It's partly due to tuning the EFI system. The Holley Sniper EFI is great for a daily driver. It is not super great for a race car. It takes a lot of in-depth tuning knowledge and a lot of figuring stuff out that an out-of-the-box Holley Sniper isn't going to do. You have to do it manually to get it to really work good on the track. One of the great things about dailying this car, while I was dailying it, is the looks you get. This thing is pretty obscene. It turns heads. I have had several people roll their windows down at lights, catch me in parking lots, whatever to talk about it, to say it's cool, to say it's goofy. And it's a really big hit with the old timers. Like a lot of guys that grew up doing the push rod V8 thing and building muscle cars, they may not be into cars anymore. This really gives them an outlet to see where it's come from when they did it. This thing's cool in your Dodge Charger or whatever, but a lot of these guys think it's even cooler when it's in something like this that's got heated seats and leather interior, and it's just weird. And again, that's another thing that we love here at the shop, is just weird. But otherwise, we really hope you guys enjoy our builds. We hope you enjoy, all of our hoopties here at the shop. We've decided that the nice cars are fun. We do like building nice cars, and we do it a lot for customers, and it's fun and all, but there's just something to be said for a serious hoopty that doesn't need to work. It doesn't supposed to work, but it does work. And that's kind of what we're doing here at Denver Beer and Oil, and we really hope you guys like it. And I hope I hope you guys like the update on the car. I know there's been a lot going on over the last few months and a lot of videos coming out. I'm really excited to see what we do next to this with the combination of talents here at the shop. It's going to be a lot of fun to make some serious horsepower, and we really hope you guys stay tuned and keep an eye out for the next videos. This is going to be an ongoing project, and it should be a lot of fun. And we hope you guys like and subscribe, and keep helping us have motivation to build these hoopties.